Hello, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another reading vlog where I'm gonna be letting a random number generator choose the books that I read. So I've done this twice before and the first time was like successful-ish, but the second time was actually very successful because I had 2 4-star books and 1 5-star book. So definitely very successful. And I do this mostly to read books that are like hidden in my TBR that I will never get to, that I would have like forgotten at this point. So it's always successful in that sense. And speaking of my TBR, here it is. And it always has this issue that here it says want to read 232, but then like on the books there is one that is number 233. So I always choose the highest number. I don't know what that's about. Also, this is probably how many books I had last time. That was like 264. I like decreased my TBR, which honestly I did not expect, but I'm happy with. So 233. It's still a lot, but let's go into our first book. 179. Okay, that is right here. It's the start of a series. That's definitely not what I wanted, but here we are. That seems like fantasy, I suppose. So yeah, first book chosen. Next book. 211. That's definitely way more like recent than I wanted. I wanted like, number 10, number 35, not 200 and what? 11? 11. Okay, sure, why not? 211. That is actually one of my anticipated releases that has not been released, so we cannot do 211. Which I'm not mad about, honestly. Let's spin again. 165. Okay. 165. The Exorcist House. Sure. Clearly horror, like, obviously. Okay. And our last spin. 199. Okay, again, they're all like almost at the 200 mark, which I don't appreciate. Not at the start of another series. Why are you doing this to me? Okay, this is also fantasy, I guess. This is not what I wanted. I'm just gonna be clear. This is not what I wanted. This is not what I signed up for. So the first book that was chosen was 7 Faceless Saints, which is the first book in the series of the same name. And it is in fact fantasy, mystery, romance, YA. Okay, sure, 400 pages. Great, that's fantastic. Then The Exorcist House, obviously horror, 287 pages. Okay, sounds great. And then Heart of Night and Fire, which is the first book in the Nightfire Quartet. And yeah, fantasy, romance, vampires. Okay, 370 pages. All right, well, these are books. Like I said, this is definitely not what I wanted. First of all, they're like recent-ish, except The Exorcist House. I guess it was like on my TBR a little longer, but also not that long. But like the other 2 fantasy books, they're both from last year, which like they're recent in my TBR and they're recent, period. So yeah, The Exorcist House is from 2022, also recent-ish. So yeah, like I said, I do these videos to read books that are like very deep in my TBR, and that is definitely not what I got. But the random number generator has chosen, so these are the books that I'm gonna read, and this is gonna be a spoiler-free vlog, and let's get into it. 49% into Seven Faceless Saints. And actually, I found out that the two books that I said were like the first book in series, I mean, they are, but the series are actually duologies. So, that's not as bad. It's not as many more books in my TBR as I expected. So, that's great, I guess. And so in this book, as the title says, there are 7 saints in this world, and they are strength, patience, cunning, grace, mercy, death, and chaos. And those saints, like, they have disciples who are humans, but they're like descended from those saints, and they have the powers that those saints have. And very rarely some people are born with like as much power as the saint had, and so they are kind of like reincarnations of that saint. And many years ago there was a war between two of those reincarnations, and it was between Chaos and someone else. I don't remember what the other saint was, but the Chaos followers, like, they lost, and the like all of the disciples of Chaos, like, they were killed because they didn't want to risk another reincarnation of Chaos because that would just be too dangerous. And so they just like shut out the city that had like all the followers of Chaos. And now, I mean, 20 years before they started this book, a second war started. Like, the followers of Chaos started fighting because they don't want to be shunned out anymore. And that is happening, and the book actually starts with the death of the disciple of death. He dies, but we quickly learn that he was poisoned. And there are actually like 2 other people who have died in a similar way, but no one really cared because they were just common people that had no powers. So the only deaths that are like important to investigate, or like the only death that is important to investigate, is that disciple of death. And the first character we start following is Damien, and he's like head of security of the Palazzo, which is where like the disciples live, or like where they spend their time. And he is obviously tasked with finding out like how that guy died, like how he was poisoned, who poisoned them, like what is happening. And then we also start following Ross, who is a disciple of Patience, but she is actually part of a rebel group because she doesn't like disciples, doesn't like that they are favored and everyone else is just struggling to survive. And so she's part of a rebel group, and she wants to actually figure out why those like common people were killed. And then we learned that Damien and Ross, like, they had a past, they were friends, and I mean, more than friends in the past, but then things happened between them, between their families, and they now hate each other. I mean, she hates him, but she finds out that he actually also wants to learn what happened to those other people, like why they were killed. So they kind of start working together in the investigations. And I'm really enjoying it. Like, I'm really enjoying the investigation. Like, I'm very curious about what is happening. And also the world and the magic seem pretty interesting. And I'm also enjoying Ross and Damien's like interactions and learning about their history. And like overall, I am really enjoying it. And I've seen some lower reviews for this book, so I don't know if I'm gonna, start not enjoying it in the second half, or if I am still gonna enjoy it. But so far, like, I'm having a great time. Actually, I'm very invested. I'm very curious, and yeah, I'm really enjoying it. So I'm going to read the second half, and I'll get back to you with my thoughts. Okay, so I have finished the book, and we continue seeing Damien and Ross investigating. And I really like that part, but we also focus a lot, and maybe a little more than I would have liked, on like them as characters and their like relationship, their history, all of that. And I mean, I do really like them. I especially like Damien, and I actually, shockingly, kind of like the romance part which, yeah, for me, very shocking. I almost never like romance. I mean, it's not like I was invested in their relationship or anything, but like I kind of liked it. Like it was okay. And I especially liked it probably because I do really like Damien and Ross is kind of a bitch, so I relate. Yeah, but I do like them and I do like to see them interact, but I was way more invested in the investigation and in the murders, and that is like what I wanted more of. And in terms of that, when we got the reveal, like it was not the, most shocking reveal ever, but I did really still enjoy it because I liked that that was what was happening. So yeah, I enjoyed it, and I do have to say, I thought that the ending was kind of underwhelming. So, overall, I did really enjoy it. I did have a really good time, but I didn't absolutely love it. And I am still not entirely sure on what my rating is gonna be. I will give the final ratings for all the books at the end of the video, but I am between like a 3.5 and a 4. But like overall, I did have a good time and I still am interested in reading the sequel. So I did enjoy it. And yeah, that's the first book done. And we're going to the second book, which is The Exorcist House, which I know literally nothing about other than it's horror and probably there is an exorcist. So yeah, let's get reading. Alright, so I am 50% into The Exorcist House, and we are following a family. And so we have Daniel, his wife Nora, who is pregnant, and their teenage daughter, I think she's like either 15 or 16, and she's called Alice. And so they move to a farmhouse, and I mean, they kind of quickly learn, but we kind of knew from the beginning that the house used to belong to an exorcist. And actually, in the first chapter, we see like the exorcist's death. Like we get to know him and see his death basically. And Nora and Daniel, they find a like hidden compartment, hidden room in the basement of the house. And then after that, like weird things start happening. They start seeing things. They start being kind of attacked by things. They definitely start being haunted. And in the last chapter I read, we start like learning a little bit about the house and about like what the haunting does to the people who live in the house. And then at the end of that last chapter that I read, something wild happens. So I am definitely enjoying it. The hauntings are definitely creepy, and some parts are like pretty disgusting and gruesome, which I love. And I actually like the characters. I don't like particularly, love them, but I like all of them, which actually doesn't always happen or even usually happen in horror books. And if I don't like the characters, if I don't care about them, I'm not really stressed or worried about anything happening to them. But in this case, I do like the characters, so I'm actually like worried for them, like for their well-being. Like I would care if one of them died or something. So yeah, I'm definitely enjoying, I'm definitely invested, and definitely very excited to keep reading. And so I will do exactly that, and I'll be back when I finish it. Okay, so I have finished the book, and we obviously learned more about the house, the haunting, why all of that is happening, like what is the cause, what is the purpose, what exactly is even haunting them and haunting the house. And obviously we see a lot of creepy things, a lot of gruesome things happening, and I did really like all of these scenes with the hauntings. They were really, really cool, really, like I said, creepy and gruesome, which is exactly what I wanted. And I do have to say that, like, maybe the last third around that, I was a little less, like, into it. I was still enjoying it, but I was enjoying it, like, a little bit less. I was not as obsessed with it, I guess. So I was, like, unsure what I was gonna end up thinking about it, and it was gonna all depend on the way that it ended. And it ended in the best way possible for me. So I really, really loved the way that it ended. And once again, I will give my final ratings at the end of the video because I'm still unsure about this one. Honestly, I'm still unsure about the other one. But I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars because I did really, really like the way that it ended. It was the perfect ending for this book for me. And now we are going into our final book, which is Heart of Night and Fire. It's here, ready to go. And actually, I said that this was like both of the fantasy books were the beginning of duologies. I don't know where I got that idea from. Like the other one is, but this one definitely isn't. Like literally here it says the Nightfire Quartet Book 1. Obviously not a duology. So that is, like, if I do like this book, that is 3 more books eventually added to my TBR, I guess. So, yeah, I mean, I hope I like it, but also, I don't need more books in my TBR. But anyway, I am gonna get probably halfway through this, and I'll be back with my thoughts. Okay, so I am 50% into Heart of Night and Fire, and we are following Zarya, and she has kind of been a prisoner her whole life, and not a prisoner as in, like, she was in an actual prison, but she was kind of, like, hidden away from everyone in a house and, like, trapped by magic. And that is because her own magic is dangerous, or so she was told, but she was never like explained why her magic is dangerous. And so she lives with a man called Ro, who is the one that keeps her trapped, like it's his magic that keeps her there, and another guy that is around her age, and I think she's 20, turning 21, and he's around her age, and that guy is called Arav. And one day Ro goes missing, like he just disappears. And when Zarya tries to run, she realizes that there's no magic like keeping her there anymore. So she runs away. But then Arav finds her. And then they are found by a couple of Rakshasa. I'm probably saying that wrong, but they're like blood drinking beings. And they are taken to a city, like the city where the queen lives. And when they're there, I mean, the city has already like been attacked by some dark creatures, but it starts getting worse after they get to that city. And basically we're following Zarya as she tries to learn more about her magic and also like who her family is, and also as they try to fight to save the city. And I'm not loving it. Like, I am interested in the world building and the creatures and the magic, but I feel like the plot isn't plotting enough. It's like the book is focusing a lot more on the romance, which I don't like. I mean, I don't like that it's focusing on the romance, but I also don't like the romance. And I also don't really love the main character. Like, whenever
anyone asks her like about her past and about like where she was or who she was with, she sometimes is like, I don't owe Ro anything. Like, he kept me as a prisoner my whole life. I'm gonna tell people like what happened. And other times she's like, Ro kept me hidden, me and my magic, for a reason. So I should probably not tell them anything. And I'm just like, bestie, choose, like, pick a lane, you know? And also I feel like I know what the reveal is gonna be. I'm not loving it. I'm enjoying it, kind of, but I'm not loving it. Like, I like the world, I like the magic, I like the non-human creatures. That is all very interesting, but I don't really like the characters, and there isn't enough plot. I feel like it's way more focused on the relationships, which, again, I don't love, but I'm gonna finish it and we'll see how it goes.
Okay, so I have finished the book and we learned a bit more about the world and the magic and the different types of magic and the different types of beings that exist, and I do really like that part. That part was fun to read, and yeah, that was pretty much the fun part because it focused a lot on the romance or romances, and I didn't like either of them. And also, like, in the premise it says something like filled with enemies to lovers tension or something like that, and that's not really what it was. Not that, like, I would have enjoyed it more if it was. I mean, probably not, but still, like, if that's what you're looking for, this wasn't really what that was, or at least I didn't feel it. And I saw other reviews saying also that it wasn't. So I don't know, but I also saw a lot of good reviews of people who loved it. So I mean, maybe if you like romance, you will love it, but it definitely didn't work for me. And like I said, I also didn't like particularly love Zarya, although I think I liked her more in the second half than the first, but I still didn't like love her. And the other characters, I didn't really connect to any of them. And apart from, I think, like one of them, other than like the romance guys, the other characters, apart from one, I couldn't really distinguish who was who. I never really knew who was actually the character she was talking to. And yeah, the reveal I thought was actually like pretty predictable. So yeah, the only thing I actually enjoyed was the world building and the magic, but I feel like there wasn't really enough of it for me to like really enjoy the book. And yeah, sadly it didn't work for me, and I'm giving it 2.5 stars. And so yeah, those are the 3 books that the random number generator chose for me, and I have decided on the final ratings for the other 2 books as well, and I'm giving Seven Faceless Saints 3.5 stars and The Exorcist House 4 stars. And Heart of Night and Fire, like I said, I'm giving 2.5 stars. And I mean, yeah, I enjoyed 2 of the 3 books, so I feel like it was a success. And I do want to read the sequel of Seven Faceless Saints because overall I really enjoyed the book. I was just a little underwhelmed by the ending, so I'm hoping the second book will be like the majority of the first book. And I didn't really want to read any of these books when they were chosen because I felt like they were kind of like recently added to my TBR. But the truth is, they were not like a priority for me to read, so like I wouldn't have read them anytime soon in reality. So again, I feel like this video was a success in terms of making me read books I wouldn't read like as soon. And yeah, like I said, I really enjoyed 2 of them, so I had a good time. And yeah, that is everything for this video. So thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you have enjoyed it. And if you did, give it a like and subscribe, and I will talk to you next time. Bye!